For the first 30 seconds, imagine discovering that Michael Myers was never simply a silent killer or a human shaped by tragedy, but the result of something far older and far darker than anyone ever suspected. Because this story will unravel the unsettling truth hidden beneath the mask, expose the psychological and supernatural forces that shaped him from the very beginning, explain why his evil feels endless and inescapable, and reveal how his origin redefines everything you thought you knew about fear, fate, and the nature of pure evil, making every moment that follows more disturbing than the last and impossible to forget. Michael Myers has always been presented as a shape, a presence, a shadow that moves with purpose, yet without emotion. But the true horror begins when the question is no longer what he does, but why he exists at all. Because the answer does not lie in a single violent act or a broken childhood, but in a convergence of silence, obsession, and something watching from the darkness long before the mask ever appeared. The night that defined Michael Myers is often described as the beginning, yet in reality, it was only the moment the world finally noticed him. Because the signs were there long before, in the way he observed rather than reacted, in the absence behind his eyes, and in the unsettling stillness that surrounded him like a void, suggesting that something inside him was never growing, never learning, only waiting. What makes his origin truly disturbing is not the presence of violence, but the absence of humanity. Because fear is easier to understand when it comes from rage or pain. Yet Michael's silence speaks of something else entirely. Something empty and patient. Something that does not seek revenge or satisfaction, but simply exists to continue. As he was confined and studied, the world attempted to explain him through psychology, diagnosis, and labels. Yet every explanation failed. Because Michael did not behave like a damaged mind trying to heal, but like a forced resisting definition, absorbing observation without change, as if the act of being watched only made him more distant and more unreadable. Time passed, years stacked upon years, yet Michael remained unchanged, not aging in spirit, not decaying in intent, and not showing the slightest hint of remorse or understanding, creating the terrifying implication that his evil was not a reaction to trauma, but a constant state of being, untouched by environment or consequence. The mask did not hide his face as much as it erased it, transforming him into an idea rather than a person. And this is where the origin grows darker, because the mask was not a disguise, but a mirror, reflecting the emptiness within and allowing him to move through the world as something less than human and more than mortal. Those who crossed his path felt it immediately. The unnatural pressure of being seen without being recognized. The sense that escape was irrelevant. And that survival depended not on strength or intelligence, but on chance alone. Because Michael did not chase with urgency, but with certainty. The most unsettling theory surrounding his origin is that Michael was never driven by emotion at all, but by compulsion. As if he were responding to a call no one else could hear, a rhythm beneath reality that pulled him forward step by step, night after night, without hesitation or doubt. This transforms his story from that of a killer into that of a vessel, a moving point where something abstract becomes physical, where fear takes form and walks calmly through familiar streets, turning safety into illusion and normalcy into bait. What truly disturbs those who study his origin is that Michael does not escalate, he does not evolve, and he does not seek closure because he is already complete, already finished, already what he was meant to be from the start, suggesting that his beginning was not a corruption, but a creation. The silence surrounding him is not emptiness, but pressure, a weight that bends the space around him and drains hope from those who sense it, because silence implies choice, and Michael's silence implies inevitability, the sense that what is happening cannot be reasoned with or stopped, only endured. Even confinement failed to contain him, not because of strength or intelligence, but because barriers assume a mind that understands limits, and Michael never acknowledged them, passing through walls, locks, and expectations as if they were temporary inconveniences rather than obstacles. This is what his origin becomes truly horrifying, because it suggests that Michael Myers is not reacting to the world, but correcting it, removing pieces according to rules no one else understands, leaving behind a pattern that feels intentional yet incomprehensible. Survivors often describe the same sensation, the feeling that Michael was never focused on them as individuals, but as moments, as points in time where his presence was required, reinforcing the idea that he is less a predator and more a function, appearing where fear must manifest. The longer this perspective is considered, the more disturbing it becomes. because it implies that Michael Myers does not need a reason to exist, does not need justification, and does not need an end, since he was never meant to be resolved, only repeated. Every attempt to humanize him weakens the horror, while every moment that reinforces his otherness strengthens it, turning his origin into a warning rather than an explanation. A reminder that not all darkness is born from pain, and not all monsters are created, because some simply arrive. The true origin of Michael Myers is far more disturbing than a single violent night, because it reveals a presence that was always there, waiting patiently for the right moment to step forward, a presence that does not learn, does not regret, and does not stop. This is why his story endures, why his footsteps echo louder than screams, and why The Mask remains one of the most terrifying images in horror history, because behind it is not a man, but the unsettling realization that evil does not always need a reason, a face, or a voice. If this story kept you watching until the end and made you see Michael Myers in a completely different and far more disturbing way, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with your thoughts on his true origin. And share this video with other horror fans who are ready to look beyond the mask and into the darkness that never leaves.